It's the week that we all look forward to for 51 weeks of the year. The finest collection of thoroughbreds and the finest pageant of the racing year. It's a week where there's big money as well as prestige. There's almost £1.25 million of added prize money on offer, and today sees Ascot's richest ever six-figure prize. Well, the weather, I'm afraid, as forecast, is dull and cold. We've had a couple of showers already. That wretched trough of low pressure just won't blow away. But the British are handling it all with their usual sang-froid, although some people are dressed more for a wet day at Wimbledon than they are for the Royal meeting. But as you can see, there are picnics in the car park, and, well, cars in the car park are probably as good a place as any to be at present. The going, meanwhile, in the view of the clerk of the course, Captain Beaumont, is as near perfect as it's ever been on the first day. Officially, it's good. Up until now, Ascot has missed much of the rain. There was 1/3 of an inch last Friday night, but it's been pretty dry in the last 48 hours. And the crowds, well, inevitably, they're not quite what you'd expect on an Ascot first day in view of the weather, but they're waiting with keen anticipation and the usual plucky British spirit for the arrival in about 10 or 15 minutes' time of the royal party from Windsor Castle. And of course, many of them looking forward to seeing this face for the first time in 6 years. At the age of 55, Lester Piggott, back in the saddle, comes back to the scene of some of his greatest trials. Well, our 4 races today feature one of Royal Ascot's 3 Group 1 events, the St James's Palace Stakes. That's at 3:45. The winner's prize is over £121,000. And the supporting races are all group races. At 2:30, the Queen Anne Stakes. At 3:05, the Prince of Wales Stakes. And at 4:20, the Coventry Stakes, the most important two-year-old race of the season so far. And we've got one non-runner this afternoon. That's in the King Edward VII Stakes, number 3, Commendable. And I understand that Pat Edery rides Corrupt, although I have to say that is not yet confirmed. Well, it's a week when everyone will be dressing for the occasion, but I'd have to say that in view of the weather forecast, the uncertain weather forecast, and the degree of financial instability in the country, I think dressing's going to be a little bit toned down this week. That's certainly my first impression. But our fashion guide over the 3 days of the meeting, or the first 3 days, is an old friend, Yves Pollard, now recently appointed editor of the Sunday Express. Yves, welcome back, and what is your first impression?
Well, I think when you talk about sang-froid, some of us are more froid than others. It's very difficult to look chic and smart and wear these sort of clothes, but I've seen a lot of very attractive cashmere shawls and cashmere sort of wraparounds. There's a lot, though, of traditional Ascot fashion, so I don't think we'll be disappointed. A lot of short skirts and high heels, a lot of black and white, a lot of navy and pink, and a lot of women being terribly brave. I think that in the end, it's the comfortable ones who will win, because they'll survive the 3 days.
There are concessions to the weather, obviously.
There's a lot of concessions to the weather, but they've done it without appearing dowdy or frumpy, and people have just got something warm with them just to throw over if necessary. And there's a lot of the more expensive sou'westers that you might have seen anywhere, which is the thrown-back brimmed hat, which is very attractive. And there you see that girl's got on a marvellous cardigan. Unusually, she's got a long skirt. We've seen a lot of knees today. The tricolore, in an unusual way. Yellow, black and white is one of the more unusual colourways. And there are a few feathers, but not many. A subtle jacket and a dress, which is possibly what most of us are wearing, because that's keeping you warmer. And a lot of three-quarter jackets around today. If anybody's coming later in the week, there are 2 accessories it seems everybody has. Pearls and a Chanel quilted handbag, or a pretend Chanel quilted handbag. Red and white, not too much of this, but there you are. There's one of those wonderful throwovers that will keep that lady warm throughout the afternoon, and she'll look very good throughout the day. And spots, masses and masses of spots, big spots, small spots, and those girls are deciding to defy the weather with short sleeves. A lot of tilted back hats. There are less of those helicopter hats we were seeing last year, those ones like that, which of course you take your life in your hands hoping it will survive. And there she's got some pom-poms, sort of a feathery pom-pom there. Dangly earrings, they've been very fashionable all this winter and all this summer. And a lot of girls are wearing them with their hats, which amazingly comes off quite well. And there's somebody with a tremendous aplomb. It's not just dressing up, it's having the confidence to wear these things that you need, isn't it, girls? And there's 2 turbans wrapped around the head with the fronds of gypsophilia hanging from the side. How to do it yourself. There's the perfect buds of May feeling here, I think, sort of all squashed up to the top and a flying hat on top. And there's another of the sou'wester shapes we were seeing before, and you can see more of the skirts and the heels. A 20s look, if you want it. And there are divots that have been thrown up by all these high heels all over on the muddy grass. Very chic and elegant. The pink and navy outfit there is one of the great colorways of today, pink and navy. Very soft and, of course, very flattering. And you can wear navy shoes which show the grass stains too much. And there's black and white again. That's Lady Caroline Warren. And she's Duke of Carnarvon's daughter. He's the Queen's trainer. And she's wearing a sort of Chanel-type outfit, black and white, with wonderful netting at the top. There's the perfect buds of May with a fan and a butterfly on top that. Those ladies are designers and say they want to bring the Ascot feeling back. I hope they survive today and don't fly off in those outfits at the top.
Eve, thank you very much indeed. Eve Pollard, editor of the Sunday Express, and we'll be hearing from her over the next 3 days of the meeting, I'm pleased to say. Well, now, Royal Ascot's the biggest betting week of the year. In fact, for many people, the whole success of the year hinges upon whether they win at Royal Meeting at Royal Ascot or not. But I think there's been a rather muted response to the anti-post prices advertised this morning. Our betting guide, once again, throughout the meeting, will come from Graham Rock. Graham, has it been busy in the offices this morning or not?
Busier than usual, but not for Royal Ascot. I think the recession's still with us, Julian, and of course the bookmakers are betting very tight indeed. There weren't many bargains around this morning for punters, and they've kept their money in their pockets so far.
Well, let's start with the St James's Palace Stakes, which is usually the biggest betting race on the first day. And here, Marjou was favourite. Has he been a firm favourite?
No, he hasn't. He's drifted with most firms, and he's now readily available at 13-8, and he could get bigger on the course. The reason is there's plenty of money for the French horse, Acteur Francais. He's now 11-4 from 100 to 37-2, and I think there'll be more money here for him. So there's one certainly to look out for. And second set, steady at sort of 7-2 and 3-1. The punters, of course, have stuck to those. Well, a little bit for Marjou, who I understand did a good gallop recently. But in the main, those 3 will dominate the betting for this race. And Marjou could well start bigger than 13-8.
Good. Well, now the first race is the Queen Anne Stakes, and I have to say I thought that had a very open look this morning, and I imagine that's reflected by the betting.
Yes, it is. It's very open indeed. 4-1 the field. Just a little bit of interest in Neyland. Ladbrokes and Chandler's went 40. Chandler laid a 40,000 to 1 each way, so someday we'll be hoping for the best. But really, those prices are about right, and I don't expect much movement. They're not really enough to tempt punters in.
That's the big rides. Candy Glen is the first ride at the meeting for 6 years. Do you think there'll be strong support for him?
Well, I think the thing is, if he drifts on the course, the big bookmakers will move in and shorten him up. They won't have the punters up and down the country getting a good price about Leicester in the first race.
Right, Prince of Wales Stakes, and that's a fascinating 3-horse contest as well. That's the way the betting is, anyway.
Yes, Stagecraft was 6-4 with a couple of independents. That didn't last very long. Zoman 9-4, a little bit of 5-2 left with Corals, and Terramon plenty of 11-4 around. Coringa Bay, 1 or 2 judges saying 33-1's a big price, but I think the 3 will dominate the betting, the first 3, and probably dominate the race as well.
Stagecraft certainly going to start favourite.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I can't see any amount of money shifting him from favouritism. I mean, he's one of the first day bankers for some people.
Now, the shortest price favourite of the day is going to be in the Coventry Stakes, and that's going to be Dillon, isn't it?
Yes, Dillon, most people's idea of the banker of the meeting. As you know, he absolutely hacked up by 12 lengths at Goodwood. A little bit of odds against early on, went as soon as the phone started ringing. Now even money. But a lot of the big players have stayed away. They don't want to pay 10% tax off course. They want to come to Ascot, hope the bookmakers here want to take a chance and earn some money and go odds against, and then they'll move in. Showbrook steady at 9-2, Dr. Devious out to 11-2. And that is ominous, in my view.
And the 2 later races?
Well, of course, the later races are very difficult for punters. A Commendable doesn't run. There's a 10 pence deduction there. Corrupt is now 9-4 favourite in the reform market. And if Pat Ellery does ride, and he's had a winner earlier, it'll start even shorter. A wide range of bets in the Ascot Stakes, but nothing really seriously backed. Too hard for punters, I think.
So the horse of the day is Dillon.
Oh, I think for sure. I think when we pick up our papers tomorrow morning, we'll see some huge bets for it. And let's hope for the punters it comes home on the bridle.
Graham, thank you very much. Well, Ascot has its usual international favour this week, rather more so than usual, in fact. The usual runners from France and from Ireland, a French horse, as Graham was saying, Acteur Français, in the St James's Palace Stakes. But there are also runners this week from Italy and from Germany. Now, the German runner is in the first race of the meeting, the Queen Anne Stakes. It's Ziller. It's trained by Frau Jutta Schulthaus, and a little earlier I spoke to her. Frau Schulthaus, it's very rare for German horses to run at the Royal Meeting. Why have you bought Ziller?
Oh yes, it's very difficult for me to find good races in Germany because he runs Group 2 and 1 over the mile, and there's only one race in Germany I can do this.
Has he ever run on a straight course before?
No, never.
So you're apprehensive?
Yes.
Now, he's a German-bred horse. Have you always trained him yourself?
No, he came in my stable with 3 years old. He was by another trainer before, and he fought in a race, and so he was very nervous in racing and had some problems at difficult horse, and he had to train in a quiet place and had been ridden alone in the woods, and so he came to my stable.
And how did you go about restoring his confidence?
Yes. I have to train him over jumps and to start a steeplechase with him. And in the work I have seen he was better and better on the flates, and so I put him on the flat track again, and he won all the first and second and third races, and so he came better and better.
So he was actually jumping as a 3-year-old, was it?
He was only jump in the training at home, never in the race.
Now, what's been his biggest success up to now?
It was last year in Düsseldorf. It was a Group 2 race over the mile, and he won to Polar Falcon. It was a very good and easy win for him.
That was worth almost £50,000, or the equivalent of.
Yes, it's much money.
And how did you yourself come into the racing business?
It's a long way. I start with show jumping and dressage and 3-day event, and then I start modern pentathlon myself, and later I have to do something which I can make all my life, because my husband, he's a dressage rider, he's much older than me, and I have to do something to make the money for the family.
So you've been training horses for what, 12 years now?
Yeah, I start the professional, it's 85. And before I have been an amateur trainer with only a few horses.
And you train on the race course, or at home?
No, I have a known quiet place. It's in west of Germany, in Warendorf, and it's only for my own horses, and I can do there what I want. I have fields, wood, and or training tracks indoor, and jumps all.
And how do you think Ziller is going to run today?
Oh, he has a very hard job today, because he never ran with so good horses like today. But I think he will not be last today.
Well, I wish you good luck.
I have a good English jockey, and he knows the place and he knows the other horses, and we will see.
That's Frau Jutta Schulthaus, who was formerly a very successful modern pentathlete, now a successful trainer. Well, this is a great week for racing, and obviously it's shown on television all around the world, and it's a week when jockeys have a very high profile indeed, and it's obviously a very important week for them. Jimmy Lindley rode many winners at Royal Ascot, including a double here on the first day in 1966, and he's with us throughout the week as usual. Jimmy, a big week for the jockeys.
It is, Julian. You start to get hyped a good fortnight before, really, when you're starting riding all the horses that you've got a book of rides of here at work in the mornings. And it really is a lovely feeling when they all start to bubble and bloom together, because it is the greatest course, as you say, the greatest meeting in the world, and you get all of the bloodstock agents from all over the world, because the horses that are racing here have been bought in America and Newmarket and Ireland, of course, and it is really the testing ground for all of the horses, the whole bloodstock of the world, really.
What's the procedure for a jockey when he gets to the course?
It depends, really. If you're like Willie Carson, he's one of the lucky ones. He comes here, it's like a club in there. As soon as you go downstairs, you lose all of the razzmatazz of Ascot. It's quiet, and except for a few jokes. But Willie hasn't got any weight troubles. The heavier boys, where they've got a sauna down there, and of course everybody goes and has a sweats, rather like going to a health club. But it's a great atmosphere. The jockeys all mucking together, and there's no ill feeling. There might be at the end of the 4 days if somebody's been chasing one about a bit, but no, it's really like a private club, very hard to get into.
Well, Schultheis has put up John Reed in the first race, but supposing it had been a German jockey, would they have helped him, or would they have given him a rough time?
Well, they do help, you know, but when you get out there, this is, as we're saying, the testing ground. You can't give any quarter. I mean, every little bit of grass out there is yours, and you've got to keep it. But no, if a horse is gone and you're out of the race and you shout for a little bit of room, very often you get it. It's rather interesting, though. The German horses, I always think, are much better on the continent than they are here. The German tracks are different than ours, Julian. They're a little bit rougher, the actual terrain, and you'll find that when the German horses come out, they lose a little bit of that form that they do show in their own country. It's very strange.
Well, now, how will the jockeys spend the afternoon? They obviously have to get here very early, and do they watch the television, or they play cards, or what?
A lot of cards, you have a game down there, and a lot of money changes hands as well. But mainly the jockeys here, a lot of them are busy, because the top jockey at Ascot always comes from the strongest stable, nearly always. And of course, like Pat Eddery, Willie Carson, Steve Cawthon, they're riding for the big stables. They're the busy boys. The odd jockey that comes here and he's got maybe one ride in the first and one in the last, well, he'll sit down there and he wins his money at the card table here.
And what about overnight? Do they stay in London or nearby, or do they go back to the big training centres?
Well, it's changed. Most of the jockeys go back home to the big training centres. You've got to get your horses working right the way through the week. I mean, say a horse running on Friday here, he'd be doing his last bit of work maybe today or tomorrow. Not serious, but you've got to keep him going. Trainers and jockeys like to stick to their mounts because the better you know your horse, when you get out there, you know all of his little quirks. I mean, it's like Pontevecchio, really. I mean, the more you know him, the easier it is to ride. You know, Pontenova. As you know, he pulls a bit hard on the way to the start. If a jockey knows those little quirks with horses, Julian, you've got confidence to drop him off on a long rein. But if you don't know him, you're inclined to get hold of him and bustle him up, and he's gone with you.
Well, now, what about today? St James's Palace Stakes is the big race of the day, and Marjou's favourite, Acteur Français, is a big challenger from France. So what's your view?
Well, I like him, and I've gone for him. I think that Guinea's form in France was very solid. He only just got caught on the line by Hector Protector. And I'm just wondering, really, Marjou's coming back from a mile and a half. John Dunlop is one of our best trainers, says he's 100% right. But as you know, Julian, Ascot's a graveyard for Epsom horses that have come from the Derby. I'm just wondering, he is a good horse, and if he hadn't have run in the Derby, I'd have said he'd nearly have won. But I've gone for Acteur Français, and I think he's a pretty good performer, and I think that form's solid in France.
Jimmy, thank you for that.
Thank
We'll
you.
be hearing from Jimmy throughout. For now, let's take a look round these lovely scenes at Ascot, because, believe it or not, the sun has come out, and I think now the sun's come out, the people will come out from the private boxes and the bars and the luncheon rooms and tents, and we'll see Ascot in its real refinery. A lot of black and white today. We saw Yves Pollard wearing black and white, and that's very much the flavour of the first day at present. That's the passage that the royal party will take down to the paddock when they go down for the second, perhaps certainly the third race today, to look at the finest thoroughbreds in Europe. The ones who come through this cold spring with the cold winds from the east that have made it so hard to train horses in Newmarket. Dry weather, cold weather, but the best ones have come through, and they're competing for almost £1.25 million of added prize money on grass, on a race course which is probably the best maintained of any in Europe. You can see the lawns beautifully manicured for the opening of this great four-day festival. Dark clouds in the background, the wind getting up again, but the crowds, as you can see down in the Tattersalls enclosure there, 3 or 4 deep, and as you saw earlier, 7 or 8 deep around the unsaddling enclosure, the royal enclosure. The Duke of Norfolk stand, built 20, almost 30 years ago now. It's one of the finest viewing stands in Great Britain, in Europe in fact. A marvellous structure with elevated viewing, which can accommodate 8,000 in the royal enclosure and many thousands more in the grandstand. And that grandstand is being approached by the royal party in their traditional journey from Windsor Castle. It's time now for me to hand over with great pride to a companion of the British Empire, our colleague Peter O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Julian. Well, this great royal procession, founded by King George IV 170 years ago, led, of course, by the carriage of Her Majesty with Prince Philip, and accompanying them Lord Carnarvon and Lord O'Neill. Lord Carnarvon, of course, Her Majesty's racing manager. The Scarlet Outriders being led by 2 police horses, in fact, 11-year-old Limber and 10-year-old Kathleen, whose last official duties were the trooping of the colour. And Her Majesty's carriage, drawn by Iceland, ridden by Deputy Head Coachman of the Royal Mews, Stephen Matthews, and Twilight beside him. The second carriage with Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, Princess of Wales, Lord McGowan, and Mr. Michael Oswald, manager of the Royal Studs. And in the third carriage, Princess Royal and Princess Margaret, and Colonel Ian Ferguson and Mr. Daniel Beckett. The fourth carriage, Lady Carnarvon, Lady O'Neill, Mr. John Kemp Welsh, and Rear Admiral Sir Paul Greening. And in the fifth, Lady McGowan, Mrs. Ian Ferguson, Mrs. Daniel Beckett, and Mr. Robin Janbury. And the crowd's packing down to the rail now. They're just opposite the Silver Ring, the carriages. And shortly they'll reach a point opposite the Queen Elizabeth II stand, at which stage the band of the Blues and Royals, under the direction of Major Tomlinson, will strike up the national anthem.
She's wearing a rosebud dress under that pink shantung jacket. It's got navy and pink flowers, and it's got a pleated skirt. With a little luck, she'll go to the paddock later and get a closer view. But there's a larger hat than the Queen's normally used to wearing, and it's very flattering too. And you can see she's got navy gloves, navy accessories, and the pearls and the diamond brooch. And there's Prince Philip with a nice bright yellow flower in his, or sort of yellowy cream flower in his buttonhole. Lots of interesting buttonholes this year. Very attractive hat, much larger than usual, and probably very firmly gripped inside in the deep wind. In the second carriage, there's the Princess of Wales and the Queen Mother. Princess of Wales, as I was saying before, she's wearing those drop earrings with a large hat in black and white, the big colour, and Queen Mother's wearing a silk floral dress underneath that fine wool coat, and of course the hat to match with the veiling. And you can just see Princess of Wales' dress, which is black and white spots, and she's got a black handkerchief tucked in the pocket to match. The drop earrings at the Princess of Wales very popular, and there the Princess Anne and Princess Margaret. Princess Anne in very cool yellow, and Princess Margaret in that violet, big blue sort of colour with the flowers at the back. And she's obviously got a coat and jacket to match. Princess Anne, high-necked spotted blouse, another spotted outfit. There are the royals, all wearing different colours. Touches of yellow, touches of orange, and a lot of spots. We hope to see those later when they get into the paddock for a really good look at the royal family and what they're wearing today.
A rather later arrival than usual of the royal party. It would be improper to speculate why, but as colourful as ever, and what a wonderfully warm response there always is from the racegoers here on this unique occasion.
With advertising going on, whether determinedly or not, because people have obviously got banks umbrellas and golf club umbrellas and all sorts of other umbrellas, and they're really well organised. Of course, have got umbrellas to match their outfits, and even though it's cold, some people are trying very hard. And black and white, the colour of the day, the colour the Princess of Wales is wearing apart from anybody else, and there is a black and white checked umbrella, and it looks rather attractive, in fact. And the umbrellas, of course, are here also, so are the scarves and the shawls, which are keeping girls warm. And there's more of those flip-backed hats. Somebody sweetly calls them Paddington Bear hats, those hats with a crown going backwards. And there's more of the sort of helicopter, the floater-off flat hat, and she's got a scarf wrapped around her. She's also quite sensible and not wearing very high heels. Lots of us are getting stuck in them today. And there's three very smart girls. You see the flapped hat at the right, a rather nice cloche in the middle, black and white. And here's a rather nice, a rather elegant sort of beret style, which at least will stay on. Feathers, not so many feathers this year. I think that, you know, we're all worried about ecology and environment and whether it actually hurts those little birds to lose them, but those seem to be all right. There's a few of those. The other accessory, apart from the bags I was talking about, are opaque tights. Lots of girls are wearing thick tights, which a few years ago would have made everybody laugh, but they look right today, particularly on a grey day like today. Black and white forever. And there are some flowered hats there. She could wear that hat every year from now until, the millennium, and change the hats on the top of that. Something that would go with this suit, if she wanted to. And there's the view, the rather sad view. You see, there's one of those cashmere shawls that we're all wishing we'd brought with us. But lots of us are struggling womanfully through the cold. And, there's somebody ducking under and probably going somewhere she shouldn't be. How interesting. There must be a hot cup of coffee on the other side of that fence, I would have thought. Somebody who's slightly given up. She's got the pearlized mac to go with the pearls. And this is Mrs. David Ellsworth. She probably knows all about the sort of things you should wear for this sort of occasion. And in fact, it's interesting to watch the ladies who know a lot about racing and come really well prepared. A rather miserable day here. But it's a great day where you can actually see a lot of the clothes, and as I was saying, lots of legs and lots of high heels to be seen today. pink is one of the other colours. The Queen's wearing pink today, pink and navy, and this is a rather bright, pretty pink, which Englishwomen look good in, the English rose colour. And bits of veiling, not so much in evidence this year. There's more ribbons and more simple hats. We've just trimmed with ribbon this year, less folderol. Perhaps everybody is wearing their most classic, simplest outfit today because they're expecting the rains to come down. If you have too much on your hat, it could catch on your umbrella. This is a lady who's immensely chic. Navy, quite a lot of navy and cream. And she even looks warm, which is quite smart. I'd love to know and do a hands-up test on how many women have got their thermals on today. Wise ones have. If you have to hang on to your hat all day, I've discovered you get a terrible thing called Ascot arm, where your arm hurts for weeks afterwards. So if you can possibly secure it with several pins and grips and willpower, you're in a much better position at the end of this week. And usually that girl in trousers, but there's a spotty dress next to her, and as we've seen, the Princess of Wales wearing spots today too. You don't see many trousers, but one or two. A few parasols there, a few frilly-edged umbrellas. You see, they're the ones who really thought it might rain and I don't want to carry something too big and too heavy. Very feminine view of Royal Ascot. Let's hope it brightens up later.
The rain is raining, the wind is blowing.
She's piled on the coach. She's probably quite pleased with those gloves. I think most of us would be, actually. But there's a feeling of trying to stay warm and trying to be fashionable at the same time. And there you have some girls trying to reveal. She's got brown shoulders. I think they'll probably be laced with sort of little bumps now of coldness, but she does look very pretty. I think very bare shoulders don't look quite right for Ascot. We're always looking smarter, I think, when the English rose look a bit more covered up. There's somebody clutching a bit of warmth to her. And there's a hat smothered in roses in the front. And it's not always right to underdo this look at Ascot. You can do it all and still have fun. You've got flowers and earrings and lace and everything there. Very pretty hat there, which is actually smothered in sort of full-blown roses. Very stately hat indeed. There's a parasol, which that girl's obviously planned her entire wardrobe. Lots of shoulder bags this time. It does leave your hands free. Oh, now we know how you feel. You want to take that hat off. Can't imagine why you'd want that. Look, she at least looks comfortable and she's not wearing high heels. And there's a lovely umbrella there, floral umbrella, which is rather nice. Goes with a plain cream suit. I wonder if women are going to rush out and buy umbrellas to match every day this week. I'm afraid they may need it. This is the op-art look, and those harsh, sort of rather dark black tights. Very nice look indeed, very simple for today. And look at that veiling, a little bit of feather. At least this hat won't fly off, and it's in the pale pink. And she's obviously lacquered it and the hat all together and hoping for the best. But lots of shoulder bags, as I was saying before, so you can hang on to everything you can. A drink, a race card, and perhaps even some winnings. Oh, and there's little flettle flower, little blossom. It's orange, and it's very, very strange, but very unusual. I wonder if she made it herself. The one thing is it will keep the rain off if you think about it, and it is unusual. And she's got a pretty face, so she can get away with it. And there's a lot of hats this year shaped a bit like men's top hats. This is a bit fatter and wider than that, but it's very nice. It's absolutely smothered in black and white spots. And she's sitting here looking very cool with her black throw over her. She's also got gloves. I think gloves are probably going to be one of the most useful accessories for the week. As they always say, if you keep your extremities warm, you'll survive. So we've all got hats on. Gloves will help as well. Oh, and there's Smarties attached to the hat and to the dress and to the front. Oh, look, she's smothered in Smarties. I wonder if Cadbury's have sent her specially, but she does look cute. And there it is. Look, she's even got them at the bottom of her skirt. I wonder if she's got them on her shoes. Oh, no, she hasn't. Somebody very hungry later might fancy one of those. But they do look fun. They're outsized chocolate drops. And she's obviously made that herself. I admire that. Every bit sewn on by hand. And there's two enormous hats in a very pretty green and a very pale blue, and they've got pleated fronts, both of those suits. They've obviously bought them at the same shop or designer, and they're rather nice. I like the pie crust frill at the top of that blue hat. Very nice. Oh, we've got a see-through hat with the little sort of nosegay of sort of violet flowers on the right, and then a pull-down cloche. And again, you can see a lot of jangly earrings around. There's gypsy air slightly. Oh, there's rather nice. Sort of spotted hat. Very pretty. There's the spotted hat. And that's very nice. It's a cloche shape. Very flattering. And the great thing about these hats is they don't fly away. And you can't see very much. You can go incognito in this. But on the other hand, they are very, very, very pretty when she looks up. Look at that shape.
Let's have a look at stagecraft as Her Majesty leaves the paddock. You can see just how they're taking a divot off the track here, although most of the jockeys have reported that the ground is riding perfect. I would say, as Julian was saying, it could ride just a little bit slow. The time.
What colour morning suit men should wear? And they say that the really sort of chic man, smart man, is wearing black, and the Flash Harry types are wearing grey. Now, I wouldn't want to say if this is true or not, but they say that last year many of the royal gentlemen were wearing black, and that is actually the style that is traditional, and the morning suits in black are the more fashionable. That's what they say. Of course, lots of men, having found the grey ones, found them very flattering, but there are more interesting waistcoats and buttonholes to be seen this year, so that's why black has perhaps been a favourite. And there you see some of the great alternatives that men have. Aren't I envious? They just have to put them on. Of course, morning suits look great on men, which is why this is such a great British occasion. They hide a multitude of sins, and they make any man look taller and slimmer and better. And there's a whole phalanx of gentlemen in their black. There you are. You see, you can see a lot more black this year than grey. Here's two ladies before it started to rain, and you can see the girl on the right seems to have almost sort of drawn the pattern of her dress on her hat. It exactly matches, which is very clever. And she's got a three-quarter coat, which has been the most popular style this year. And then we've got that rather nice fichu neck, that cream, which is really lovely. And next to her, yellow and white, which has been one of the colours I've noticed more and more as the afternoon's grown on. Macintoshes, and of course the telltale chain handbags, which are everywhere. And pearls. I did say bring your pearls. They don't have to be real, you just have to have a lot of them. And there's a navy blue cashmere top covering that girl up. Roses all the way, festoons smothered in roses, these two hats here. And one's in pink and navy, the colours the Queen's wearing, and the other is a cream colour with a bit of peach. And there's a sort of naval sort of outfit, or a sailor sort of thing, and a bright gold, and then a mirrored hat here. Very unusual hats here, unlike ones you normally see, perhaps specially made for today. And the mirrored one's good fun. This is what I call the helicopter hat. It looks as if it could do a vertical takeoff all on its own. Very popular over the last few years, but you don't see so many today. Now, this is the basic hat, which actually you could do yourself. You could cover your hat with a bit of lace and a bit of veiling and flowers and match it to your dress, and then off you go. The English rose. We should be grateful for the weather. This is why we can keep our complexions gentle and soft. It's the damp that does it. And then there's a riding school sort of mom with veiling and a sort of Very severe look indeed, very chic, that red and black outfit with a riding school hat. She just needs a horse and a side saddle. And there's the Queen and Princess Margaret on their way down to the paddock. You, of course, can see the charm of Ascot. You can get so close to the royals, and you can see a bit of that rosebud dress there. We should perhaps see a little more. And there's the queue, and you can see how close you can get to the royals, which is one of the great attractions of this meeting, where you can examine exactly what they're wearing and have a really good look, which is, of course, what a lot of people would like to do. And you don't have to get into the royal enclosure to do it. They're lining up now, holding their umbrellas, hoping they don't have to go up. And then there's always people waiting. There's a great deal of waiting to do at Ascot, waiting to get your winnings, waiting to meet some people. But there they're all lining up, because the buzz goes round very fast that a royal's in the paddock. And they rush off. And there's the Queen. You can see that hat, very pretty, larger than usual. And we'll have a look at her later.
Princess Margaret also loves her racing and always accompanies the Queen, and also the Queen Mother when she goes to her first love, national hunt racing. And, well, I've got nothing but admiration for her, because the weather can be pretty cold. Well, I'm perhaps a little bit of a judge on horseflesh, I think so, but a judge on fashion I do know. Eve.
Thank you. Well, there you can see the Queen Mother, and very sympathetically, rather the sort of style that she is, she's got an umbrella that you can see is see-through, so she has to put it up. Everybody can still see her. And there's Princess Margaret. Both of them are sort of icons of their own style, aren't they? I mean, you see Princess Margaret still wearing her sandals, despite the very cold day, with very high heels, in a bright blue. And the Queen Mother looking very chic. She's got a fine wool coat, and underneath that's a floral silk dress, and you can see the colours are taken up in her hat. And there you see the Queen, and she looks terrific in that hat, much larger style than she's used to, and it's got a flurry of bows at the back, very nice indeed. And that print is a rosebud print, and it's a pleated skirt on the Queen's dress. Princess Margaret's got a sort of bright blue silk frock with a white jacket, and you can see the Queen's jacket. It's a shantung, which is one of those silky fabrics. It's got a sort of a slight line through it of the self-same fabric. And she's obviously having a very nice day out, the sort of day she enjoys best. And there you can see her tiny bit of veiling round that hat. So we've got a really good look at the royals. Their simple outfit, obviously going to continue with her mother's and her grandmother's love of horses and racing, and spectacular rider, and now making a name in fashion too, because I think she looks terrific. Very simple and determined to be quite comfortable today. She's got black accessories and grinning. She does look pretty when she smiles, as most of us do, I suppose. And there she is with a black umbrella. She's carrying herself. And a wrap-over skirt you can see there. Very simple coat. And there you can see her moving on, moving back to the royal box. I think a nice cup of tea coming up soon. They're certainly needed. It's very cold out here. And there's the Queen coming through the crowd. And they're clapping and smiling, and very typically English scene, one of our great British occasions. There's the Queen Mother just behind, in that bright orange yellow.
Our family leaving to go to the royal box.
With Sutherland. And in the third carriage, the Duchess of Gloucester, the Duchess of Kent, with the Earl of Scarborough and Sir George Christie. in the fourth carriage, the Duchess of Sutherland, the Countess of Scarborough, Mr. Joseph Goodhart and Mr. Angus Cheap. And shortly now, the procession will be drawing in front of the Queen Elizabeth II stand and the packed crowd who are packed down to the rails to get a close view. And as they come to the Queen Elizabeth II stand, the band of the Blues and Royals under Major Roger Tomlinson strikes up the national anthem.
Moment as always, and you can get a really good look at how adventurous the Queen's being with her hats this Ascot. Today she's got a sort of almost a sort of didgeridoo Australian sort of style hat tied up in white. It's bright blue, and she's got a white edge-to-edge wool coat, and she's got a blue and white silk dress underneath it. And there's Prince Philip, nice bright pink rose in the front. And there you can see the Queen in that bright blue and white. Very unusual hat. After yesterday she wore a bright pink hat, a wider brim than usual. She's been a lot more exciting, obviously, with her headgear. Something you can get away with even in the cold. There's a rather nice human story about these coaches today. The Duchess of York was supposed to be riding in one, and she gave up her seat for Miss Stephanie Struthers, who's in the fifth coach and has never been in one before. And there's the Princess of Wales. She's wearing these full-blown roses we've seen all week in the top of her hat, very pretty in yellow and white. And there's the Queen Mother in very pale pink, and she's got a wool coat over a pink and white spotted frock, and she's trimmed her hat to match. And there's Princess of Wales looking terrific in yellow and white, big upturned straw. And then there's the Duchess of Kent looking terribly smart in, again, that bright blue and white with a big bow at the front. And the Duchess of Gloucester in green. I haven't seen very much of green at this meeting, but another bright, striking colours, good strong colours for a cold day. And there you can just see the Princess of Wales and the Duchess of, the Queen Mother in the foreground. Once again, they're all wearing different colours. We hope to have another good look at the Royals later on, when we hope some of them will go down to the paddock.
And a paddock of fillies fit to set before a queen. Here's Eve Pollard.
Well, nobody's more interested to have a jolly good look at what the Royals are wearing, and the people in the paddock are getting a jolly good look because they're all in there. The Queen Mother, Princess of Wales, the Duchess of York, Princess Margaret. And there you can get a jolly good look at the Queen's rather elegant swagger coat, edge to edge in white wool, and she's wearing that over a blue printed silk dress. And there you see the Queen Mother, and you see the first look at the Duchess of York, who very kindly gave up her seat in the carriage because she's been in one before and she's probably going to go in one tomorrow. And she's wearing a cream silk suit, which you can now get a jolly good look at. And a sort of darker cream, lovely big straw hat with matching shoes. And you can see Princess Margaret's bright yellow. She also came in the car with the Duchess of York. It's the first time we can see her. And there's a sort of Paddington Bear shape that we've seen before on the Duchess of York. And you can have a really good look now at the Princess of Wales hat, which is, again, very much of the mood of this meeting. There's been quite a few of these hats, straw brims covered with flowers, and it's very feminine, very pretty too. She's got the drop earrings, and quite a lot of these suits with the crisscross two colours, where the bodice is one colour and the top is another. She's wearing the traditional clutch bag, even though shoulder bags have been the look. And Princess Margaret, she's wearing a sort of confection of a hat, Not many of those this time, just bits of lace and flowers, and she looks very good in this bright yellow. She's standing around having a great chat about what's going on, what the horses are looking like. And of course everybody's standing. The crowd is absolutely huge now around the paddock, gazing at them. There's the Queen Mother. She's wearing pale pink today. Yesterday she was in the yellow. And her traditional outfit, swagger coat and the matching hat with the thrown back brim, veiling and the flowers. Jolly good look at them all, and don't they look nice?
Well, thank you, Eve. A vast crowd here. And good for this vast public, as Eve was saying. Really spectacular sight now that the brollies are down, the sun's come out. You can see the multitude of colour, some really lovely hats here this year, and how the women do try for the men. One of the very smart uniformed gatemen saluted Her Majesty the Queen. There, Sir Piers Van Gogh on the way.
Limber and Kathleen, two police horses, have the honor of leading the royal procession, and the first carriage with Her Majesty the Queen, Prince Philip, Prince Michael of Kent and the Duke of Sutherland. Deputy head coachman Stephen Matthews of the Royal Mews riding the lead horse in the first carriage, and the second carriage with Queen Elizabeth the Queen Mother, the Duchess of York, Viscount Linley, and the Earl of Scarborough. The third carriage with Princess Royal, Princess Margaret, Countess of Snowdon, Mr. Joseph Goodhart and Mr. Angus Cheap. And in the fourth, Princess Michael of Kent, the Duchess of Sutherland, Mr. James McNabb and Mr. Seamus Ogilvy. And this, by far the biggest crowd so far. The prospect of Gold Cup Day has certainly lent an air of recessionless Ascot this afternoon. This famous Gold Cup, first run in 1807 and worth 100 guineas at that time. And today the international race will carry a prize of over £100,000. And so as the royal procession draws up to the Queen Elizabeth II stand to make its way towards the entry to the stands, down to the Welsh Guards under the direction of Colonel Peter Hannam, play the national anthem.
Well, I said that fuchsia was going to be a big colour today, and there's Her Majesty the Queen wearing it. Once again with a very exciting hat. This time it's got that multicoloured silk trim on the side and on the brim. And she's got a matching 3/4 length coat on top of it that goes with the hat, and underneath I'm told she's wearing a print dress that matches those bits of ribbon. Black 3/4 gloves, taking no chances on the weather, as none of us are. And she looks really happy, is having a great day out and looking terrific. And Prince Philip wearing a bright red buttonhole today. He's worn a different one, different colour every day, so obviously somebody's thinking of what he's wearing too. That is without doubt the colour of the day, and we should be seeing a lot of the fuchsia pink on everyone. And in the second carriage, there's the Queen Mother. She's wearing bright red, and there's the Duchess of York, looking terrific in green. Very big straw hat, and you can see a big bow lying on top of that brim in green and blue. Very pretty colour. Nice V-neck jacket, and the Queen Mother in a print frock today, and of course her red hat is trimmed. So the Queen Mother's worn every colour this week: gold, pale pink, and today she's in a darker colour. The first day she's gone out in a really strong colour. And there's the Princess Royal in powder blue, and Princess Margaret in a lovely, real confection of a hat and lovely feathers in bright red. Very pretty colours, those two together. And there's Princess Royal, a pillbox hat, and that's trimmed with flowers on the left too. Touch of veiling, very simple outfit. Marvellous strong colours from the Royals today. We look forward to seeing them later in the paddock.
The Royal Party simply...
Rather nice clipped jacket with a stand-up collar. And she's obviously going down to have a look at the horses. And she's moving through the crowd there. And you can see just how close to the Royals you can get at Ascot. Smiling and people she knows. And she's marching determinedly forward. Very pretty hat, that. Bright pink outfit. Duster coat, a swagger coat, which is the new look. And doubtless Her Majesty remembers it from the 50s when we first saw them. And with her is the Duchess of York, wearing a very nice bright green and purple outfit. A smashing hat, that. And the suit is by Thomas Sarewski. And there's Princess Margaret behind, and she's wearing a sort of V Ascot hat, isn't it? It's a concoction of feathers, all afloat, and it matches her pink suit. And the traditional Princess Margaret sandals, which you don't see her without, and she sticks to her look, as does her mother, who looks terrific in orange, a printed orange outfit today. And I suppose the Queen Mother, without realising it, started that Paddington Bear look. She's always got the upturned brim, and very fetching looks too. And you can see she's got actual flowers dotted around on the back of that hat to match the outfit. Very pretty scene. Of course, the pearls are real, and they're traditional and been worn for year in, year out. Just this year we've all caught up with that look. And there's Princess Margaret looking remarkably well. Very simply dressed. Very nice outfit indeed. All the Royals being careful that they're warm, because it must be quite shivery in those carriages. But all of them looking very summery, and no pastels today. Strong colours from everybody, which is really a nice sight to see. And there's that suit that the Duchess of York's wearing. She looks terrific. She's got drop earrings, which is the look, the dangly earrings, and her shoes match the skirt of that suit. Lovely big hat, and yet you manage to be able to see her face, which of course the Royals always consider very important. And she's got a clutch bag. Unusually, not many of the Royals wear the shoulder straps, which have been the look this season. It's a lovely hat. You can see the big bow thrown back. And then they're having a real laugh. It's nice to see them looking as if they're having fun. And you can see that printed dress the Queen's wearing underneath her coat. Multicolours, orange, green, pink, virtually every colour in that. And she's got a patent handbag and the matching shoes. There they are, all in their strong colours today. The royal ladies having a jolly good look at the horses while the world sits and looks at them.
And so we move
Just walking back to the royal box to actually see the parade, which is now...
one enclosure yesterday. I didn't think there was anyone in this country who wouldn't recognize the wonderful monarch who enjoys her flat racing as much on days like this as the National Hunt can. Colonel Sir Piers Bengoff, Her Majesty's representative, is not far away, but that's Michael Oswald, Queen's start manager, manages the Sandringham start. And there's Sir Piers Ben Goff, whose cabochon gave him his first Royal Ascot success in the Ascot Stakes, and he runs again tomorrow at Ascot Heath in the Hagen-Dazs handicap. Well, some very high-class mile and a half.
Through the famous walkway where the crowd love to queue, and quite a lot of them stand there, in fact, all day waiting for this very moment. They don't actually go around and see the racing, so that they have a really close-up view of their monarch. And there she is, obligingly as always, and the Queen Mother stopping to have a little chat. A real walkabout here, and as always, gathering the applause from the crowds. Queen Mother's real love is national hunt racing, and what an ambassador she is to that, because